Welcome everyone to Monday Motivation. We're just working through some technical difficulties and we'll be going live at 7:15. My apologies for the delay, but we'll just give people a chance to hop on here and we'll be live at 7:15. We're glad you came to join us. Go grab a coffee. We'll be starting shortly. We're just working through some technical difficulties. The Facebook is not loading. Our website's working fine. It's the Facebook one that's not loading up. So not sure. We're just looking into that. If you refresh your browser, and I've restarted it, we'll see. We're just working through some technical difficulties. The Facebook is not loading. Our website's working fine. It's the Facebook one that's not loading up. Well, we're sorry for the delay. If you are on the Monday Motivation webpage, if you're on the Monday Motivation Facebook page, that one is having difficulty, and we were trying to work through that. It may be okay if you refresh your browser and restart the view. If not, go to my personal Facebook page, Bruce Richardson. That one is working fine. Or you can go to our website, monday-motivation.ca, and there you can pick it up through the web page, through our website. So we're glad you're here to join us for this week's Monday Motivation. The topic today is the power of one. If you're here joining us, feel free to leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Just say hi, say your name and where you're from. And we'd just like to interact with people, have a fun time this evening. The topic, the power of one, actually comes from a personal story that started many, many years ago, and it's something I learned about the influence that one person can have. And I've done this talk a number of times with my Toastmasters group and with other audiences, and I thought it was time to share it with my Monday Motivation followers. So we're glad you're here. Make sure you share this video, make sure you like it, like our page, Monday Motivation Webcast on Facebook, or if you're following on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, share it right now, start a watch party. We are trying to expand the channel, and anything we can do to increase viewers, you can help us that way, is appreciated. 1 second here. There. Since we're live. Make sure you go to our website too, monday-motivation.ca after this webcast is over, or even right now if you have a moment. And in our on our webpage, you can look at past editions of Monday Motivation if there's anything you missed or want to go take a look at, browse through, some great content there. And there's also a subscription form where you can subscribe to our mailing list. You can get Monday Motivation delivered directly to your inbox. Sometimes things easily get lost on social media with all the noise that's out there. This way you get it right to your inbox in your email and can watch it at your own convenience. We're starting to go live every Monday evening at 7 p.m. There'll be a few exceptions and some will be pre-recorded, but most evenings now we're doing live 7 p.m. Make it interactive. Hi Violet in Oshawa. And gives us a chance to just share through the chat. In a few weeks I'll also be announcing, I'm still working on dates and topics, but we'll be doing a Zoom training session on so the Monday Motivation will actually be a Zoom training session on Discover Your Purpose. That will be coming up towards the end of October, so watch for that too. Right now though, being on social media and our website, we'll just have to interact through the chat. So the power of one. Think about it. You wake up in the morning, you have a hot shower, you grab your coffee, you get your breakfast, and, well, we used to, we probably don't anymore. Hop in a warm car, and our trip to work is, usually reasonably good. And many of us here in North America, we live such a good life. It's not perfect, but in the big picture, things aren't that bad for the majority of us. We've got shelter, we've got food, most of us have a vehicle, we've got income to pay the bills. We're doing, compared to other parts of the world and compared to people in difficult situations, most of us are doing very well. Would you agree? Contrast that now with the guy living on the street or the single mom struggling to raise, say, an autistic child on her own. What about refugees displaced by war? What about children who go to bed hungry here at home and in other parts of the world? These people that have needs, they make us feel uncomfortable. They drive us out of our comfort zone. When you see somebody who has a need, that, if you have any conscience at all, that just sort of pushes us to the edge, pushes you beyond your comfort zone. And I used to work downtown Toronto. You'd pass people on the street every day, and eventually your heart just, it's easy for your heart to just grow cold to the people that are facing homelessness in difficult situations. And it's not right, but when we do see a need, how do we respond? How do you respond? How do I respond? Sometimes I ignore it, and maybe that's the right thing to do. Other times I ignore it, and my conscience or something inside me saying, hey, no, you should have done something. One of my previous webcasts, I share a story about how I helped a lady in a wheelchair, and all I did was push her a block down the street, but that meant so much to her. It made her day. But when we see a need, how should we respond? Not how do we, how should we respond? Think about that for a moment. How should we respond when you see a need? As Christians, didn't Jesus tell us, as you treat the widow and the orphan, implying from the culture of the time, those in need, that's how you're treating me. So, with that in mind, today I want to share my story about the power of one. You can make a difference. Actually, before we start, just let me do a quick refresh here, see who's on. If you're watching it on the Monday Motivation page, okay, yeah, that seems fine now. If you're having difficulty, refresh your browser, restart this stream, and you'll see it on the Monday Motivation page. If you're on my personal webpage, my Bruce Richardson webpage, you should be able to see it. Again, my apologies for the delay getting started. Just worked through technical difficulties. So today I want to share with you my story about the power of one. You can make a difference. What would you think if I told you my list of accomplishments include producing 8 music CDs, 20 music videos, performing in over 30 countries on 4 continents, My music's been included in TV shows on mainstream TV and an NFL commercial. My music's been featured on or played on Virgin Radio. I've authored a book encouraging people to pursue their dreams. And through speaking and music, I've encouraged thousands of youth, hundreds of thousands of youth all around the world. Okay. Let me come clean. Those are not my accomplishments. But the reality is, I have had influence on making those accomplishments happen. So I'm not directly responsible for it, but indirectly I had influence on that. And that is where I learned about the power of one. The power of one. The story goes back to my early 20s. I was working in a kids' church. I had a job. I had started my career. And one night I was praying and I just said, Lord, what do you want me to do? And it totally came to me. This is one of the few moments where something, so clear came so suddenly. And the Lord said, I want you to mentor a young man. And I was blown away. I didn't know what to make of it. I'm thinking, wow, what's that about? And I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? Go to Big Brothers and become a Big Brother through that association? And his answer was, no, I just want you to mentor a young man. And I said, okay, but I need to know for sure who that person is, because this sounds like a big commitment. And that was it. That's how it started. And then I tucked that away in the back of my mind, and I just let it sit there in the back of my mind thinking, that was strange. What happened there? Well, wouldn't you know it, a few months later, it came to my attention that there was a family in the church who had lost their father to suicide and mental health issues. So I immediately knew in my heart that if they have a son, that's it. So I did a bit of research on the family. I didn't know them directly, but I had seen them around. And sure enough, they had a 6-year-old son. So I said, Lord, is that it? He said, yes. And that's one of the few times God has spoken to me so clearly, almost like an audible voice, almost like having a conversation between you and myself. It was really cool. So then I'm in the position, okay, I can't go, I don't know this family except to see them. I can't go up and say, I want to mentor your 6-year-old son. That's not going to fly. So I say, Lord, okay, what do we do here? How does this work? So I found a family a friend that I knew very well, his family, that were close friends with them. And through that, we were introduced and got to know them a bit better. And then I said, okay, hey, can I take your son to a movie? We did that a few times. And then I said to the mother, I said, are you okay if I take your son out once a week? So it was a building of a relationship. I couldn't just walk up. They'd go, who are you? What do you want to do? But by building that relationship and getting to know them, I was then able to build that relationship with the family, get to know them a bit better, and earn their trust. Plus to having the mutual friend, that helped a lot too. So we started going out every week, and here's this chubby little 6-year-old kid that you wouldn't think much of, but he was struggling to make sense of all that was going on around him with his family and the loss of his father. And that was, he was coping, he was surviving. But those weekly visits, we would do different things. And it was just spending time together. So it wasn't a formal mentoring, come sit here at my desk and we'll talk. But just by, you can't do that with a 6-year-old anyways. But just by spending time together, that relationship developed and it turned more into a mentoring relationship. Almost like a big brother, but not through the organization. And over the years that continued to grow, we did lots of different things together. We would go camping, we would go skiing, he took up skiing. He would go swimming with me. He learned how to swim. I remember one camping trip. We weren't far away from home. It was 15 minutes away down in the Rouge Valley there at the campground. And I'm on his case. Put on shoes, put on shoes, put on shoes. No, don't need shoes, don't need shoes. Finally, about an hour later, he's running through the bush and he cuts his foot open on a thorn or something. And I get to pack up, throw him in the car, take him home to his mom, and she ends up taking him to the hospital for stitches. I'm sure she must have thought some days, who is this guy? What's he doing to my kid? But she also appreciated the break, and she appreciated somebody being there to help. I got along really well with his mom. She's a great lady. But the whole family was just struggling to make sense out of the whole situation and rebuild their lives. As he continued to grow through high school, by then I had my own kids. I had to start, my own family. So we didn't spend as much time together, but we still continued the relationship. A couple of mornings a week, I'd pick him up early in the morning. We'd go for an early morning swim, go get breakfast, and I'd drop him off at high school. He would also do custodial work. We had a business at the time, so he'd come in on 1 or 2 evenings a week, and he'd be our custodian. So gave him some work experience, gave us a chance to just talk, hang out. But that's how the relationship worked. We always continued to keep in touch. There was always that role model, that mentoring. And at the same time, I learned a lot from him. Not so much in the mentoring side, but just, working with kids, raising kids, understanding kids, working with teens. I learned much myself. It was really good. Now, as he got towards the end of high school, it's interesting where things went from there. He wanted to go into professional skateboarding. That was his passion. And he was good at it. I've seen some of his skate videos. We were looking at some of them from his teenage years a couple of months ago. It's pretty impressive. Some of those bloopers, too, are pretty good. But through an accident, he actually injured himself, and that put an end to that. He still skateboards, but it wasn't going to happen at a professional level. And he started to get into hip-hop music and rap music. And I have no clue where that came from. I have no music talent, no music skills. There's nobody musical in his family. And he actually failed music in school. So I have no idea where any of this came from. But he started to get into the hip-hop music scene, and he actually became very good at it. So how was I a part of all this? Not because I have any music skills or could teach him that side of things, but just by being there as a friend, as a mentor to get through that situation, I had a significant impact on his life. I could have said, no, I'm too busy, or, what's some, little 6-year-old kid, why should I spend my time? But just out of simple obedience of doing the right thing and doing what the Lord's asked, he actually developed into a fine young man and continued to pursue that music. And all of those accomplishments that I mentioned earlier, they're actually his. So I like to take credit that I had a small part of it, but it's his work, his doing. But if you think of it, somebody who's been in that situation, he could have gone either way. He could have gotten himself into trouble and drugs and gone that way. But instead, through having somebody there, a stable role model, a mentor in his life, he actually chose a direction and had a great, really good career. Continued to see him get married. He's got 1 kid now. He moved down to California. He actually flew me down to California first class and taught me how to surf. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see him and I surfing there in California. I've still got the picture there. So it's a relationship that developed over time, but it was investing in one person. So where I now see in hindsight the power of one is that one person, myself, investing in one person, through that has now impacted tens of thousands of lives all over the world through the way that the Lord's used him. It's quite amazing. All through the power of one. I pointed him in the right direction. He ran with it, and that's how it all started. I've raised now my own 3 kids. They're all adults. 2 have left home, one's still at home, and they're doing well. And since now I don't have to spend as much time with my kids, I'm actually mentoring now a young man. He's 21 years old. He's on the autism spectrum, high functioning, and he's matured a lot. He's come a long way. You know, he's got a good dad, but you know, a single parent can only do so much in a tough situation. So coming alongside them and helping out, we've seen great strides in him maturing and growing and becoming more independent. And I have no idea how it's going to end up, but I am expecting great results because in hindsight now, from my experience, I see the power of one person investing time in one person. It's easy to say, oh, the government should do this, the government should do that, we pay taxes, they should take care of the poor, the government should take care of those with special needs. And the government does have a role to play, but more importantly, it's not what is the government going to do, it's what am I going to do? What are you going to do? If I had just left it up to other people, I would have lost out on those valuable relationships. And the Bible doesn't tell us, go, you know, petition the government to do it. The Bible says we are the salt and light of the earth. Not the government, not some other organization. You and me. We are the salt and light of the earth. We are responsible for these changes. We are responsible to help the people that are in need. And you have to get involved. It takes time. Sometimes it gets messy. So yeah, supporting organizations to do this stuff is great, but I'd encourage you, get involved yourself. And I totally lost my spot in my notes. What are the comments here? Violet. When I drove a car for a living, I carried a wad of $5 bills in my pocket to give the beggars at the end of the ramp when I came off the highway. I left it in God's hands because sometimes they were dressed in designer clothes. Yeah, I used to work downtown, and I would walk from the Union Station up to my office. It was about a 25-minute walk, and I would see beggars on the street there all the time. And it's important to support the people that are in need, but what I would do is I would ask for wisdom. I would see some there day after day, smoking, you know, reading the newspaper, out there, you know, like they were on a shift. You know, they would show up at a certain time, take their lunch break at a certain time, then come back. So some of them you could see they were professional beggars, and that would get me angry because they're taking money away from the people that actually need help and need support. But then other people, so I just asked the Lord for wisdom. You know, I have this much in my pocket to give. Lord, help me give it to the right people. Good point, though. You know, and sometimes we have to be strategic, but yeah, take some extra change with you. Be ready to help these people. And even better yet, be ready to talk to them. I'm going to go down a rabbit trail here. One day, it's quite funny, I was in McDonald's. I bought my lunch at McDonald's, and they had, I bought a hamburger, and you could get a second burger for $1. So I bought a second burger, and I didn't feel like eating it. I was full after the first one, so I put it in my briefcase. That I'll save it for later. So as I'm walking down into the subway to go to my appointment, there's this guy sitting in the subway, and he wasn't really asking for money, but you could tell he was in a difficult situation. And I said, I don't have any money, but I have a hamburger. Would you like a hamburger? And he looks at me sort of strange, and totally caught him off guard. He thought, what? And then he thought for a second, goes, okay, you know. So I opened up my briefcase and I pulled a hamburger out of my briefcase. You should have seen the look on his face. I said, you have a great day. God bless. Enough. I went into the subway. But sometimes you're just talking to people. It goes a long way. So not only giving them money, but talk to them, engage them, Treat them as real people. Treat them as human beings. Treat them as God's children. They're still his creation. Even though they're not in alignment with how he wants them, where he wants them, they're still his creation. He still loves them. So take time to talk to them, engage them. It means so much to them, rather than just throwing money in a can. But yes, support them financially too. Any other comments here? We're just taking a look. Glad you guys could join us this evening. Not a big crowd, but a lot of people tend to watch it after the fact, which is good. I did some research on giving. So in my case, my giving was giving of my time, my skills, my expertise. You may not be in a position to mentor somebody, and that's fine. You have other things you can give. You can give time. You might be able to give finances. You might be able to give a meal. We had John on the broadcast a few months ago. He gives meals out 3 times a week down at Memorial Park in Oshawa. So everybody has different talents, different things we can give, different contributions we can make to society. And that's all good. But when we give, Berkeley University did a number of studies. Their findings were, and I'm summarizing, you can go to Berkeley University and get all the finer details and fine print. But in summary, giving is good for our health. Giving makes us feel happy. Giving promotes cooperation and social connection. Giving evokes gratitude, and giving is contagious. There's many advantages to giving. There's many ways you can give back to society. Encouragement, a helping hand, helping out a neighbor, cutting somebody's grass, just talking to people, engage them in conversation. There's many ways you can get involved. But whatever you do, get involved, because I've seen from experience the power of one. You can't change the whole world, but you can change life for one person. You are one person changing one person. You might have an opportunity to do 10, 20, hundreds, but start with changing, being good, being a source of encouragement, helping out one person. It's the power of one. And that multiplies. And it may multiply in different ways, but I know from experience the power of one to change a life, to change society. And the power of one is you. Think about it. What are you going to do to make life a little bit better for somebody else? And that's my encouragement for this week. That's my motivation, my Monday motivation. What are you going to do for somebody this week? The power of one is you. Thoughts, comments? If you're watching this video after I shut down the live stream, you're welcome to type in the comments. I'll monitor it and reply. Or go to our website, monday-motivation.ca, type it in the feedback form, and we can respond that way. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or like our Facebook page, Monday Motivation Webcast. Go to our website, subscribe to our mailing list. We'd love to have you on as a regular viewer. If you found this helpful, that's great. We'll see you next week on Monday Motivation. Any other thoughts or comments? Going once, going twice? Just checking for comments here. Coming up, I'll be doing a actual training session on Zoom, one of the Monday Motivations towards the end of the month, and it will be Discover Your Purpose. Also, I've been talking to the fellow that I mentored, and he'll probably be coming on within the next couple of weeks. It'll probably be pre-recorded. He's very busy, but I've got him to say, yeah, I'll come on and we'll record. He can talk about his book that he wrote and some of the messages that he shares. One of his favorite ones is talking about fear. So we'll let him come and talk about that. So stay tuned.